Hi, this is Joe Hood with Carestream Dental. In this video, I'm going to cover some basics in CS3D, with the idea being I'm trying to provide a quick tour, a basic overview, if you will, of CS3D to a brand new Carestream 3D user. I've got two clients that were installed this past week, and both of them would like to be able to play around with a sample 3D scan so that they can be somewhat prepared before their day of on-site training, so that they're already kind of down the road a little bit with some knowledge, so to speak. So I'm not going to dive super deep on any of the tools. I'm going to provide a quick 101 tour of CS3D here. So most of the features I'm not even going to touch upon. I'm just going to give you the ones that you need to know early on. So let's first start by how the heck do you open a scan? If you are a surgical client of ours and you use OMS imaging, you're already accustomed to having 2D pans or PAs or camera images associated with your exams. You'll now have the ability to have your CT scans associated with your exams as well. So there's a couple ways to open up the 3D scan. You can double click on the icon itself here in the middle of the view. You could right click and choose launch object, or over here in the navigation pane you could right click and launch the object as well, and you'll notice that it'll just launch right in CS3D and you'll have your scan open. If you are a CS imaging user of ours, that's our restorative practices, our periodontal practices, and our endodontic practices, you'll notice this software here that we're looking at. So there are a couple different ways to get to the imaging history. This is the icon I like to click on, and when you're in the imaging history, you'll want to click on the 3D volume tab here at the top, find the volume that you'd like to open, and just double click. And you'll notice that the scan will open in 3D software. Once you have the scan open, now we can go over some features in the 3D software itself. The first thing I'll do is give you a tour of what we're looking at. Across the top of the screen, you're going to notice these different tabs: orthogonal slicing, curved slicing, custom slicing, oblique slicing, and the review tab. So the review tab is meant to create custom reports for, say, an implant case or a cross-sectional view. The review tab is meant for creating reports. That's more of an advanced lesson, so we're not going to cover that in this video. The orthogonal slicing tab, this presents everything at a 90-degree angle. This is great for a radiologist to read. You're probably not going to be here all that often. The curve slicing tab is where you're going to trace the arch and map a nerve and place an implant. This is where you would do your initial review of the scan that I'll cover in a second, but also planning your implant cases. Custom slicing, unless you're a large field of view unit, the 9300 Premium, you're not going to be using this tab at all. This tab is meant for a bilateral TMJ scan where you can visualize both joints independent of each other in one scan. So in this particular volume, this tab is of no use. The next tab is the oblique slicing tab. This tab allows us to change the angulation of planes, which is very helpful for endodontics or other diagnosis of some morphology that you may find interesting. The next tab is called the oblique slicing tab. Oblique because we have this inner handle that allows us to change the angulation of your slices. So as you see, each one of these tabs gives you different tools so that you can navigate and visualize the scan in different ways. 99% of our clients are either in the oblique slicing tab or the curve slicing tab. Now let's take a little tour of the different views that we have. In the top right view of both the orthogonal slicing, the curve slicing, and the oblique slicing, you're going to see what we call the axial view. This is a view looking straight up from foot to top of the head of the scan, visualizing up the axis of the scan itself. You'll notice that the scan has markers indicating the orientation of the scan. So P for posterior, A for anterior, right, left. This helps you understand the position of the scan. The next view in the bottom left is what we call the coronal view. This is a cut across the patient from left to right. In the bottom right, we're going to see the sagittal view, which is a cut across the patient from anterior to posterior. This is a page out of the user guide for CS3D that helps explain each of the different views that you'll visualize. Axial, coronal, sagittal, so that you get an idea of what data you're looking at. In the curve slicing tab, you have two additional views. You have what we call the curvilinear view, or pano view, and this is the view that you'll have when you trace the arch. So this view, color-coded red, is inside this red border. In the bottom right on the curve slicing tab is what we refer to as the cross-sectional view. So again, color-coded blue, we're looking at a cross-section along this blue line. Each one of these views are always color-coded, and the color code that's in the top right corner of each view corresponds to the plane that is displayed on the 3D rendering. So our curvilinear view is red. It's displayed here as this red curved plane along the 3D rendering. If we go over to the oblique slicing tab, you'll see the same or different color scheme here. Yellow, purplish, and green. And in our rendering, you'll see those corresponding colors associated with the planes that are displayed. This is meant to help you understand where you are in the scan. So now we'll cover the different tools that you have in each of the views themselves. So I'm going to teach you these tools in this axial view, and when you understand these tools here, the same exact tools are available in the coronal as well as the sagittal views. So the first tool is a screenshot tool, and you have two options by using this drop-down arrow. You have either a floppy disk icon or a camera icon. If we choose the floppy disk icon, that's going to drop a DICOM screenshot down into our system gallery. So if we click on this icon, we're going to see the gallery displayed here. If I click on this floppy disk, you'll see a new DICOM screenshot saved right here. If we change it to a camera icon, you'll notice that we had a screenshot that has a camera on it, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. The next tool, and as you hover over these tools, you'll notice that the title of the tool will populate if you just hover. So this tool will maximize this view, just this view. So let's left click on this. It maximized this view. It kept the other three views active, but they're just minimized over on the side. Again, just giving you a chance to visualize the scan a little differently. If you want to minimize it, you just click that tool again. Let's say we maximize the axial view, but we meant to maximize the coronal view. We do not have to minimize this first. We just swap them out this way. The next tool is to open this one view in a dual screen. So if I click on this, it's going to open that view in a separate window. So this is nice because we can work in this window by itself. We can enlarge it to display to a patient with a lot less data on the screen. It can be overwhelming for a patient to see all of that information on a screen at once, but if you just show them this one view, they'll be able to understand it a little bit better. The next view is the split view, which means how many slices for this view are going to be displayed. By default, it's one by one. So we can left click on this and see all the different options. So let's say you want to see one row with 3 slices displayed. There's an option there. You could get as busy as 5 rows with 5 slices in each row. So we're going to go back to the default. The next tool is how this data is displayed, either with averaging or with maximum intensity projection. Most users leave it on averaging. The next tool is going to determine how much data is displayed here. Right now, we're displaying one slice, one 150 micron thick slice of data. So what we're looking at is one slice right along this yellow plane. If we click on this and thicken it up, if we go all the way to the maximum thickness, we're going to display that entire scan, or most of the scan, and it'll start to look more like a traditional radiograph because we're sandwiching a bunch of anatomy. Let's go back to one other thing. When you do thicken this up, you'll notice this grayed area right here that will show you the overall height of the area that's displayed, or the amount of data that's displayed in the axial view. Let's go back to the finest thickness. So those are the tools for an individual view. Most of them are the same here in the rendering. You have the screenshot options, you have the maximize view option, you have the open in a dual screen option, but that's it. The rest are different because this is not DICOM data, this is a 3D rendering. These next three icons will change the orientation of the rendering. You can bring it to the side, you can bring it straight looking at you, you can look at it from the foot looking straight up. The next tool gives it an angled perspective. And then the last is going to help you to determine how and if the planes are displayed. So we can click on no planes to completely hide them. We could click on wireframe, which is probably the most common that I see, and it is the default option. We have MPR, which is a little cross between the DICOM data and the 3D rendering. And then we have a color option, which just gives each plane a solid color. I like to keep it on wireframe. Now we'll go over the tools on the left of the screen. This top section will give us tools for MPR adjustments, 3D rendering adjustments, and the mouse control settings. The next section are various tools that allow you to perform measurements, trace an arch, map a nerve, crop a 3D rendering, do an airway analysis, or crop out a 2D or 3D region of interest. We'll briefly go over a couple of these tools in a moment. In the bottom section, we have some export options. So you can burn to a disk or a thumb drive, print, do a screenshot of all 4 views, or you can export the scan out to your desktop out of the imaging software. So the MPR adjustments allow you to adjust the brightness and the contrast, and we also have an enhancement filter that comes in helpful for the panel style view. The 3D rendering, we have the ability to change these default palettes. So you'll notice that the 3D rendering will change its appearance when we choose these different palettes. So you could go to a grayscale. These two at the bottom of the list are fairly new: Shiny Bone and Shiny Realist. I like the Shiny Bone. This is really artwork anyways. You're not going to be diagnosing from this area, so it's really just a presentation tool. The last section is for mouse controls, and this is important. So you have 2 sections here. The bottom section controls what the left click button will do. It either does nothing if you click none, or it'll adjust the MPR. So if we have it checked off for MPR, and we hover over a particular view and left click and hold, and then drag our mouse up and down or left and right, we're going to adjust the MPR settings for all 3 views. And don't worry, if you do something like this where you render it undiagnosable, you can actually click this reset button and bring it back to default settings. The top section of the mouse control determines what the scroll wheel will do. It can either zoom or it can slide. So let's click on slide, and now I'm slowly sliding my scroll wheel for a micro movement here. And as I do this on the axial view, you'll see this yellow axial plane move ever so slowly. Okay, so those are your mouse controls. So now let's talk about navigating through a scan. There are a few different ways to navigate through any one of the views. The first being this outer handle on a plane. If you notice, as I hover over this outer marker, my cursor turns into a double-ended arrow. When it is a double-ended arrow, you can left click and hold. The first thing you'll notice is that the plane is fully displayed and that you can move the plane. It'll maintain its orientation, and you can move it quickly from one side of the scan all the way to the other. A macro movement. You can do the same type of macro movement on the 3D rendering itself by using your right-click button. So I'll hover over the purple plane, right-click and hold, and now I can move this plane quickly and easily, maintaining its orientation. If you're on the oblique slicing tab, you'll notice there's also an inner marker. There's the outer marker. When you're on the inner marker, you create two double-ended arrows. And when you left-click and hold, you can change the angulation of the plane. This is rotating around the center of rotation of the axial view. The next navigation tip is to use your scroll wheel. If we have it set to slide, you can hover over your view and slowly scroll the scroll wheel. You can do this on any one of the views, and all you have to do is hover over the view first and then scroll the scroll wheel. You do not have to click first. The last navigation tip that I'd like to point out, I call a pinpoint navigation. So I'm going to reset this scan so everything's centered. And let's first do a macro movement here. And let's say we want to analyze this tooth. We could move each plane independently until they're crossing right at that tooth, so that we're starting to zero in on that particular tooth. Or what we can do is to use the pointer and point it right over that tooth and press the scroll wheel like a button. You'll notice that it immediately just brought all planes to that point. The next navigation tool is to change the orientation of the 3D rendering. To do that, you just left click and hold anywhere and move your mouse. Moving my mouse up and down or left and right. You can do it at an angle. And again, if you rotate it around and really kind of lose your orientation, you can just use these three icons to bring it right back. The next thing I'd like to do is to review some recommended preference settings. So click on the gears up here in the top right. And we're going to change some settings in 4 different menus here. Each of these icons is a different set of preferences that you can adjust. So in the first section, the application settings, what we want to do is change the default tab from orthogonal to curve slicing. I'll explain why in a moment. The next menu you want to go into here is for colors. And I like to change the background color for the 3D rendering by clicking on this icon and choose this black box here and then hit OK. The next section we're going to come into is for the MPR settings, and we want to uncheck the automatically create arch box. An arch is traced much better when you do it manually than the automatic setting. You also want to make sure that your slice spacing settings are as follows: 1 millimeter, 20 millimeters for the panoramic view thickness, and 1 millimeter for the thickness of all the other views. And the last menu we want to go into here is for screenshots. So let's click on the camera, and we want to change from the default setting of TIFF to JPEG. After we do this, we want to hit apply and OK. First thing you'll notice is the background on the 3D rendering is nice and black. It just looks a little better on the screen. The next thing I'm going to cover is my recommendation for your initial review of the scan. So you may have scanned this patient to plan an implant on, say, number 14, but you're responsible for assessing the entire scan first, or at least at some point. So I find it to be most efficient if you do this in the curve slicing tab. So the first thing you want to do is choose the arch tracing tool and to move this slider so that you have a good visual for what the arch looks like, the shape of the arch. Now with this tool selected, you want to perform a series of left clicks starting in the outer edge of the scan and walking down the center of the arch. And as we're doing this, you can see a pano style view, otherwise called the curvilinear view, form in the top right of the screen. You finish the tracing with a double click, and now we're finished. So now we have this curvilinear view in the top right, and we have a cross-sectional view in the bottom right. So this cross-sectional view, color-coded blue, is a cross-sectional display of this blue slice. And what I suggest you do is to bring this cross-sectional view all the way down to one end, enlarge the view for the cross-section, and you're going to visualize in this window, but you're going to use this tool to slowly navigate from one end of the scan to the other. And if it's a dual arch scan, as you move from left to right, visualize one of the arches. Either one, it doesn't matter. So from left to right, I'm going to review the mandible. And we'll go all the way across, and we're slowly looking at cross-sectional slices across this entire scan. A nice, easy way to spot any sort of problem area that may exist. Now that we're all the way down one end, now when I come back, I'm going to visualize in the maxilla. Again, nice cross-sectional visualization of the entire scan. Done. If you see any particular area that you want to get a second opinion on, like in this scan, I know there's a crack in this anterior tooth. So this is something you'll be able to diagnose, but let's say you see a cyst in the maxilla. You can take a screenshot and drop it right down into the gallery. So let's display the gallery, and let's take a JPEG screenshot. And there it is. You can take any number of screenshots. But that to me is the most efficient way to perform an initial scan or an initial review of your scan. And any screenshots that are JPEG screenshots can be dragged right out of the 3D gallery out of the software. So if you're a CS imaging user, CS imaging will be open right behind the 3D software, and you can minimize the size of the 3D software and just left click and drag and drop this view right into your CS imaging. You could drag this right out to the desktop of your computer and email it to a colleague if you want, or save it to a thumb drive. The next thing I'd like to show is how to go to the Carestream Dental website to find the system requirements for the CS3D software. You come to carestreamdental.com, hover over the support tab, come all the way down to system requirements, and left click. And now while you're in here, you click on system requirements again, scroll down. If you're a WinOMS imaging user, you want to click on the OMS imaging software system requirements. If you're a CS imaging user, you want to click on this link here. Once you do that, you'll have a PDF open. And what you want to pay attention to is the CS3D imaging viewing workstation specs. So this will list the hardware requirements and the supported operating system requirements. If you're using our PDIP, our prosthetic driven implant planning software, that has a little different system requirements, so you want to make sure that you're mindful of that as well. Everything is listed in this document. The last thing I would like to show you is that other than my YouTube channel, you also have some videos available right on the Carestream website. And the address for that is www.carestreamdental.com/learn3D. And you'll see the videos populate right at the bottom of the screen. You'll be able to see exactly what the topic is for each video right in the title. You can navigate through. I think there's at least 13 or 14 videos here that cover all the different layers of the software. So you've got a number of different options for getting some education on the software, including your local rep, your trainer when they come on site, and YouTube channel, as well as the Carestream Dental website. So good luck. Get to know your software ahead of time and enjoy your day of on-site training. I hope you find this video helpful.